Alright guys, TacticalRab back again today. Hope you're all doing well and enjoying your day so far. Welcome back to VALORANT Rostermania after all the talk about the Sentinels roster over the last couple of weeks and whether Marved could have been there alongside TenZ. Marved has actually come out to defend TenZ and his playstyle going into the upcoming season, saying that those who believe that TenZ is just a pure aimer definitely don't get the whole picture of what makes him such a good player. Very much intrigued to your thoughts in the comment section below. Hit the like button if you enjoy. Subscribe if you're new as always. I'd greatly appreciate it. It really helps out the channel. Thank you very much indeed for doing that one. Firstly, this Split might be returning. They reckon that for next year, this source here, that indeed Split is going to return next year. So I think they're working on some changes to Split, you would think. Of course, we saw that Pearl has come in. Will Split come in instead of Bind or something? I don't know. But yeah, Split, we've seen some teasers that Split might be returning at some point. I think people would love to see it. It's, I mean, look, it's a good map. I don't think it's a great map necessarily in VALORANT. It's not one of the absolute best in my opinion, but it's right up there, middle of the pack type map in my opinion, and does create some spectacular finishes. The amount of great games we've had from a competitive perspective on Split, you know, overtimes, crazy 19-17 victories, like there's been a fair few of them. So hopefully Split does return, and it probably will next year. We'd expect it to at least. They take it out of the rotation, make a couple of tweaks, and then bring it back, and that's probably going to happen with other maps over history as well. Quickly, this from Ocelot Sports confirming Will is kind of joining them. Does this mean that they've kind of locked in a potential future for Will in terms of what his next step is? Because the only change, of course, 100 Thieves made was minus Will plus Cryo for the future of that team. But Will, I thought, did a great job on this 100 Thieves team. Certainly your land towards the ends. Makes sense to try and go for the Cryo upgrade. That, of course, they wanted Cryo before they even got Will in the first place a few months ago. So makes sense. Unfortunate circumstances for Will, but I think he did prove his worth most certainly. So hopefully he's managed to find somewhere in tier 2 and he's signed with an agency hopefully to try and get him that particular deal through. This also from Boom Esports confirming their roster going into next season. Indonesian team, Blaze King and the boys returning yet again. So a lot of these organizations are now locking in their rosters for next season. And just to mention quickly on the esports awards, because the finalists have come through for this one, the coach of the year, Chet, is actually on here, of course, the coach for the OpTic team. Surprisingly, as yet, no confirmation from NRG as to what their roster is going to be. We know what it's going to be, we think. But even on Flynn's spreadsheet here in a second, Artist, despite the fact that we believe he's going to be there on NRG, has not actually been locked in, or is not actually a 90% guarantee. We think it's going to happen, but we don't have the Na'Vi confirmation, we don't quite have the NRG confirmation, so it's a little bit of a waiting game going on over there. But yeah, Doom Rose also as well from the FPX team, so definitely a couple of VALORANT guys getting involved on this list. The other one, of course, on the PC Rookie of the Year. Plenty of big names on here. Les Alphager, of course, Valiant as well even gets a spot here from the Guard, so thought a pretty cool list of rookies that are up for nomination. Monacy might be pretty hard to beat as well, and I'm not so familiar with some of the other guys from various different esports. Quick note here on the TSM squad going into next season. We believe that GMD, Koalanu, potentially Nismo, John QT on the same roster for next season. Nature playing with these guys as well. So, and up against Shonk of Sonics, it seems. So yeah, still some practice going on, but TSM, we think they're forming a squad, and Nismo, formerly of Ghost, is probably going to be there. That is looking more and more likely by the day, with maybe the rest of these guys as well. So some serious changes probably going on at the TSM camp, and of course we don't know exactly what's going on here and whether this is just some sort of trial period or whatever. Things could change, but yeah, definitely wanted to share it for you guys regardless. And of course, speaking of tier 2, what's going to happen to a guy like Stewie? I think he has indicated his intention to play different agents and make sure he can actually find himself in a tier 2 position, but still a lot of organizations are biding their time in terms of what they do in tier 2. The likes of OpTic and other organizations, version 1, even G2 that got rejected. What do? Are they going to bother with tier 2? Are they going to commit to it? Because some orgs are, but a lot of orgs that are orgs that were here before and therefore already kind of have a team that's ready to go. Now, speaking of G2, they've signed version 1 coach Imi to lead the rebuild to compete in the Challenger circuit. This is indicating G2's intention, obviously, to compete in tier 2. They will double down and form a roster in the tier 2 side. And this is not going to be a European team. This is going to be a North American team. So I do wonder if G2, because G2 were going to get in, right? G2 were 100% going to get in to the franchise league. I think they were told that, like, it was just about to happen. But when the Carlos Andrew Tate thing went down, then all of a sudden it was an absolute disaster. They got rejected. Carlos has now been effectively barred from, I think he can do some training and then they let him back in again. But yeah, Carlos is basically gone. And G2 probably think, you know what, if not for this Carlos thing, they would have had a spot. So I guess their plan will be to try and give it a go in tier 2, either qualify for Ascension attention, and then hopefully Riot will say, actually, yeah, G2, you're going to be our partners all along, let's just partner up anyway, and you can replace a team that doesn't perform very well. I don't know, and of course Riot can make that call, because it's not like these orgs have to pay money, it's Riot's discretion who they make their partners. So there is a possibility in the future that G2 still become a partner team, I think, and but that's only going to happen if they actually field a decent Challenger Circuit roster. So they've brought over Immy from version 1 to do this, or at least, you know, those are the sources that they indicate, and confirming here that it's going to be an NA roster. So yeah, G2 are going to come to NA as we expected. They were going to sign the vast majority, if not the entirety, of the exit team from last season. That, of course, fell through after they failed to get a spot. Now they're going to have to go down a different route. What does this mean for version 1 as well? Because if their coach is now gone, then a V1 going to keep going, and they're going to pull out, because of course Xander and Zeltis already went over to Cloud9. Is Xander going to stay there? Is he going to go elsewhere? That's one of the questions that is still up in the air right now. So this is the tier 2 circuit as it stands, with still some questions over the Guard, TSM, Shopify Rebellion, what they're going to do. Probably keep a vast majority of that roster. The FaZe Clan team, of course, Supermen might be back here now after the Evil Geniuses thing seemingly fell through. Oxygen Academy, Sonics, as we just saw right there with Shonk and Co, Dark Ratio, X-Ghost, and then Xset might build a team, and then G2 are now indicating their intention to come into this side of things as well. This is how things look in tier 1 though, because of course they've got to pick up some players that aren't in tier 1. And just that quick comment I was mentioning, of course very small on screen, but on the left hand side, Ardis does not have the darker green, which is 90 to 100%. He only has the lighter green, which is 60 to 90%. So maybe, you know, there could be a visa thing, or there could be something that falls through with Ardis that prevents him from joining NRG, which might be one of the reasons why we haven't seen any confirmations there yet. I don't know, but you know, probably it will be confirmed in due course. But yes, if G2 do come into North America, what team should they field? Who should they sign? But they are looking to complete pretty much an entire rebuild over there. Let's talk about the whole Sentinel stuff then, because we saw yesterday that Sentinels pretty much admitted, or Psycho admitted, that Marved was going to be their candidate. Like, he's who they wanted, but Marved wasn't sure if he wanted to compete or not, and therefore they thought, you know, we can't commit to Marved because it's kind of on the fence, so let's get Sassy Pancada instead after that option was made available to them. And now Marved doesn't really have an option for next season, going to effectively retire for the short term, and then probably make the return next season or mid-season or whatever. Now, people were asking him in the chat which players are pure aim players, just based on their aim and nothing else. And of course, he was saying that basically no top-tier Valorant professional is like that. There's always other aspects of your game, your positioning, your understanding, your, you know, teamwork, coordination, communication, all this type of stuff that goes into being a top-tier pro. And people were saying, nah, you know, Yay and TenZ, these guys, they're just pure aimers in the chat. And he was like, no way, you guys are absolutely faded if you think that TenZ or Yay just base their ability on their pure aim.
Is it possible to hit Immortal with raw aim only? Why are you asking? Trust me, you guys do not want to be raw aim players. It's not the way to play. Nobody picks up raw aim players. Name me one pro, one franchise player that's raw aim. TenZ is not raw aim. Me? I'm the opposite. My aim is trash. TenZ is not raw aim. He is smart too. Overall mechanics are cheeks. I think his movement is pretty good. The way he peeks is good. El Diablo? Hell no.
It's been an interesting discussion, I think, there for Marved. I think what he's saying is certainly true, that a lot of these players, people look at a TenZ or even a Yay and think, yeah, the only reason why they're good is because they just have crazy aim, and if they didn't have crazy aim, they wouldn't be anywhere near as good. Like, obviously, these guys have flashy aim. TenZ is certainly, that is the case for him, but and it's the same thing with Yay. Yay is incredibly consistent at killing people. Like, his aim is disgustingly good, but it's also really smooth. But one of the reasons why Yay's aim is so smooth is because his crosshair placement is incredibly good, and his positioning is always on point. Like, he's never really out positions. He always finds himself in a spot to get a kill and get away. Obviously, Chamber helps a fair bit with that, and TenZ will be able to utilize that as well. But I think it's very clear what Marved is saying, that for a top tier player, it's never really about the pure aim. There's always other aspects of the game. People can aim very well in ranked and other situations outside of the professional circuit, but to compete on the professional level, you need way more than that. You need your teamwork, you need your positioning, I think, is honestly the key thing for getting kills in general. Not just positioning of your crosshair, but where you're standing, understanding, like, you know, how you take certain angles, what your movement is like, how you take particular engagements. It's not just about wide swinging and hitting the headshots, like, because if you try and do that unsuccessfully, you'll get shut down by players that might have slightly worse aim, but better positioning. So I think that's kind of one of the key points there that Marved is getting at, and pretty much defending TenZ right against some of the people that say he's just a one-trick aimer player. And I think he obviously has got to prove that he does wrong to some degree this season. There's lots of doubters about that Sentinels team building around TenZ as the star player yet again, but Hiko confirmed that he certainly believes, as the head coach of the team, that TenZ has what it takes. So also just wanted to touch on real quick, as we have been, that Marved, of course, not going to NRG. What do you think about that NRG roster then? Because you've got the three on the right-hand side here, but no Marved, no Yay. Arguably downgrades in both roles. Is there a chance that NRG can possibly replicate any success that OpTic have had in the past, or will this team even be confirmed as we expect it to be? Because still, questions do loom. Very much enjoyed your thoughts on all this stuff in the comment section below. Hit the like button if you enjoyed. Subscribe if you are new. Take care, and I'll see you next time.